Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Chicago, Illinois. The Palmer House Hotel. Sophia Grace Thompson was officially having the worst day of her life when she decided that lying to 250 people would be a brilliant idea. Sophia? Her Aunt Evelyn's voice sliced through the elegant murmur of the hotel ballroom like a chainsaw. Where's your fiancé? Everyone's absolutely dying to meet this mysterious Ethan you've been raving about. Darn it. Sophia smoothed her emerald green dress, the one that had demolished her freelance graphic design budget, and plastered on what she hoped was a convincing smile. Around her, her grandparents' golden anniversary celebration sparkled with extended family, her parents' business associates, and longtime family friends, all buzzing with curiosity about the man she'd fabricated 3 months ago to escape the relentless, "When will you find someone special?" interrogations. He's running late, Aunt Evie. Sophia's cheeks ached from fake smiling. You know how downtown traffic can be. Of course, sweetheart, but remind me, how did you lovebirds meet? You've been so mysterious about the whole romance. Because he's a figment of my imagination, you busybody. Sophia was desperately scanning for an escape route when she stumbled backward into something unmovably solid, something that smelled like cedar and expensive aftershave. Whoa there. She whirled around, and her heart stopped. Benjamin Harper stood there wearing that signature lopsided grin that had been scrambling her brain circuits since freshman year at Northwestern. Sandy brown hair perfectly tousled, navy suit that definitely hadn't come off any rack, and those impossibly blue eyes that always seemed to be laughing at some private joke. Her father's law partner's son, the guy she'd been strategically avoiding for 18 months, ever since she'd nearly kissed him at the firm's holiday party and learned the very next morning that he was planning to propose to his law school sweetheart. Naturally, he'd appear today. Just perfect. Sophia. His voice carried that familiar warm rasp that made her knees unreliable. Had no idea you'd be here. Benjamin Harper. Aunt Evelyn's volume could probably be heard in the lobby. Sweet mercy. Look how distinguished you've become. I still remember when you were just a little tyke having adventures with Sophia in our backyard. We have tea. Please, universe, just open up and swallow me whole. Mrs. Lawson. Benjamin's smile was diplomatically charming, though Sophia detected mischief dancing in his eyes. You haven't aged a single day. Oh, you sweet talker. And what about that beautiful fiancé of yours, Olivia? We were all so disappointed to hear things didn't work out. She seemed absolutely perfect for you. Benjamin's confident expression wavered almost imperceptibly. Yeah. Sometimes perfect on paper doesn't translate to real life. Sophia felt an unexpected twist in her stomach. Hope, relief. Stop it, Sophia. That road leads nowhere good. Well, that's actually wonderful timing. Aunt Evelyn's hands flew together in delight. Not wonderful that your heart got broken, but wonderful because now you're both here and available. Sophia just got engaged to the most amazing man, Ethan. You absolutely must meet him when he arrives. The elegant ballroom seemed to tilt dangerously. Benjamin's eyebrow arched with obvious interest. Engaged? Well, that's news. Congratulations. Yes, to Ethan. Aunt Evelyn was practically radiating excitement. He'll be here momentarily. They're absolutely magical together. Ethan, Benjamin repeated thoughtfully. And Sophia recognized that expression. The same laser-focused look he got when dissecting complex legal arguments. And your love story began how, exactly? Think, Sophia. Think. Well, Sophia's mouth felt stuffed with cotton. Through professional circles, kind of. What's his profession? Panic mode activated. He's in consulting. Sophia could feel perspiration gathering at her hairline. Business consulting for businesses. Benjamin's smile turned absolutely predatory. Business consulting for businesses. How wonderfully specific. And that's precisely when Sophia Thompson made the most catastrophically stupid decision of her 29 years on Earth. She seized Benjamin's silk tie, hauled him down to her height, and planted one on him right there, center stage, in front of 250 wedding guests, including her 84-year-old grandmother, who promptly gasped so loudly she startled the string quartet. The kiss lasted exactly 5 seconds. 5 seconds that stretched like molasses and vanished like lightning. His lips were impossibly soft, surprisingly warm, and for one heart-stopping instant, he actually kissed her back. When oxygen became necessary again, the ballroom had gone library quiet. Benjamin was studying her with an expression she couldn't decode. Those blue eyes unreadable and intense. Sophia wanted to evaporate on the spot. "Ethan," she practically shrieked, her voice jumping 2 octaves. "Fantastic timing, darling." For what felt like several geological ages, Benjamin remained silent, just examined her face like she was the most fascinating puzzle he'd ever encountered. Then gradually that knee-weakening smile bloomed across his features. "Hey there, beautiful," he said, and Sophia realized with crystal clarity that she was in serious trouble. Apologies for the delay. Construction had the expressway completely jammed, and that's how Sophia Grace Thompson found herself fake engaged to the one man in Chicago she definitely shouldn't want, but absolutely did. Without question, the worst day of her entire existence. Chicago, Illinois. The Palmer House Hotel. The silence that followed Benjamin's declaration stretched exactly 4 beats too long. Sophia counted them. Because when you've just fake-kissed your father's business partner's son in front of your entire extended family, time becomes a very specific thing. "Oh, my stars!" Aunt Evelyn shrieked, pressing both hands to her heart. "I knew it. I absolutely knew you two were destined for each other. Remember, Laura?" She grabbed Sophia's mother's arm with the enthusiasm of a lottery winner. "Remember how they used to build those elaborate blanket forts together when they were little?" Brided. ID. Sophia's mother, Laura Thompson, was staring at her daughter with the expression of someone who'd just watched their house spontaneously combust. "Sophia, sweetie, when exactly did this happen?" "Excellent question, Mom." "About 45 seconds ago. It's fairly recent," Benjamin said smoothly, and Sophia felt his hand settle protectively on the small of her back. The touch sent electricity racing up her spine, which was completely inappropriate given the circumstances. "Very recent, actually. We wanted to be absolutely certain before making any announcements. But this Ethan person she's been mentioning for months," Aunt Evelyn began, clearly confused. "Is my middle name?" Benjamin interrupted without missing a beat. "Benjamin Ethan Harper. Sophia's always preferred my middle name. Haven't you, sweetheart?" Sophia's brain had apparently abandoned ship because all she could manage was a mute nod while staring up at Benjamin's face. Up close, she could see the tiny scar cutting through his left eyebrow from when he'd crashed his bike at age 10. She remembered that afternoon. She'd been the one to run screaming for his mother. Why was she remembering that now? "This is absolutely wonderful." Grandma Beatrice materialized beside them like a silver-haired tornado. At 84, she stood barely 5 feet tall but commanded the presence of a general. "Benjamin, my dear boy, I've been hoping you and Sophia would figure this out eventually. You were such wonderful companions as children." "We were," Benjamin agreed, and his smile was so genuine that Sophia almost forgot this was entirely fabricated. "I've always been fond of Sophia." "Stop talking. Please stop talking right now. Tell us absolutely everything." Cousin Natalie had appeared from nowhere, wielding her smartphone like a weapon. "When did this happen? How did it happen? I need details for the family group text." "Natalie, please," Sophia started, but Benjamin's hand squeezed her waist gently. "Well," he said, settling into what Sophia recognized as his courtroom voice, "it started around 8 months ago. Sophia came to a client meeting with her father, and afterward we ended up talking for hours, just reconnecting, you know, and then we started meeting for coffee." Sophia stared at him in amazement. This was actually believable. She had attended that meeting. They had talked afterward. There had been 0 coffee meetings, but it sounded plausible enough that her parents wouldn't question it. And then Aunt Evelyn was practically vibrating with excitement. "And then I realized." Benjamin looked down at Sophia, and for a heartbeat his expression was so tender, so authentic that her chest tightened painfully, that she'd grown into this incredible woman, brilliant, funny, beautiful. I would have been an idiot not to fall for her. The collective awe from the assembled aunts was nearly deafening. Sophia felt heat creep up her neck. This was supposed to be pretend. She knew it was pretend. So why did his words make her stomach perform Olympic-level gymnastics? "When's the wedding?" someone called from the crowd that had gathered. Sophia's eyes went wide. Benjamin's hand tightened almost imperceptibly on her waist. "We haven't set a date yet," Sophia managed to croak. "We're taking our time." "Nonsense." Grandma Beatrice waved her champagne flute. "You're 29, Sophia Grace. Time is not on your side." "Benjamin, What are your intentions regarding my granddaughter? Benjamin laughed, that easy, confident laugh that Sophia remembered from college parties. Well, Mrs. Thompson, I intend to make her incredibly happy. Excellent answer, her grandmother declared. I approve. I always have. Much better than that peculiar boy she dated in college. What was his name? The one with that ridiculous man bun. Justin, Sophia mumbled. Yes, dreadful hair. Absolutely no ambition whatsoever. Grandma, what? I have eyes, child. Now, Benjamin, let's discuss your timeline for marriage and children. I think I need some fresh air, Sophia announced suddenly. The ornate ballroom walls were closing in, and if she had to endure one more word about wedding dates or family planning, she was going to have a complete meltdown. I'll join you, Benjamin said immediately. They escaped to the hotel's rooftop terrace, leaving behind a crowd of relatives already mentally planning their fictitious wedding. The cool Chicago evening air hit Sophia's flushed cheeks like salvation. For a moment, they stood in comfortable silence, looking out over the twinkling city lights. Sophia could hear the muffled sounds of the party through the glass doors, but out here, it felt like they existed in their own private universe. So, Benjamin said finally, leaning against the stone railing. That certainly happened. Sophia buried her face in her hands. Benjamin, I am so incredibly sorry. I completely panicked and you were standing there and I kissed you. I kissed you in front of everyone. I'm absolutely mortified. Are you? Something in his tone made her peek at him through her fingers. He was watching her with that analytical expression again. But there was something else there, something that made her pulse quicken. Mortified about kissing me specifically or about the situation in general? Sophia dropped her hands. What kind of question is that? An honest one. Benjamin turned to face her completely, leaning his hip against the railing. Because I have to tell you, Sophia, that was not the kiss of someone who was mortified. Heat flooded her cheeks. It was a panic kiss, a desperation kiss. It didn't mean anything, did it? The way he said it, quiet, almost gentle, made her stomach flip dangerously. They were standing close enough that she could see the flecks of gray in his blue eyes, close enough to catch that scent of cedar and something uniquely Benjamin that seemed to surround him. Benjamin, she started, then stopped. What was she supposed to say? That she'd been thinking about kissing him for 18 months? That discovering he was planning to propose had felt like a physical blow? That she'd avoided him at every company function because she didn't trust herself around him? Look, she said instead, I know this is completely insane. I know I've put you in an impossible position, and I'll totally understand if you want to go back in there and tell everyone the truth. I'll handle the humiliation. It's my mess. Benjamin was quiet for a long moment, studying her face in the soft light from the city below. What if I don't want to tell them the truth? Sophia blinked. What? What if, he said slowly, I want to be your fake fiancé. You what? Sophia was certain she'd misheard. Why would you possibly want that? Benjamin's smile was rueful. Because, Sophia, I've been dealing with my own version of family pressure since Olivia and I called off the engagement 8 months ago. My mother has already introduced me to 4 perfectly suitable young women. My grandmother keeps making pointed comments about her age and her desire for great-grandchildren. And my father, he ran a hand through his hair. Let's just say he has very strong opinions about my personal life that he's not shy about expressing. Sophia stared at him. So, you want to fake date me to get your family to back off, and you fake me to maintain your story about Ethan? Benjamin shrugged. It's mutually beneficial. This is absolutely crazy, Sophia said. But she was actually considering it, which was probably the craziest part. Is it? Think about it. We've known each other forever. Our families have been friends for decades. We work well together when we need to. And he stepped closer and Sophia's breath caught. We apparently have believable chemistry. That was a panic kiss, Sophia repeated weakly. Was it? Benjamin's voice was low. Dangerous. Because from where I was standing, it felt like something you'd been thinking about for quite a while. Sophia's heart was hammering against her ribs. You're imagining things. Am I? He was close enough now that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Then why haven't you been able to look at me for the past year and a half? Why do you leave every room I enter? Why did you stop coming to the firm's social events after that New Year's party? Heat flooded her face. He'd noticed. Of course he'd noticed. That's not relevant, she stammered. Isn't it? His hand came up to cup her cheek, and Sophia's brain short-circuited. "Sophia, I've been wondering what it would be like to kiss you since our junior year at Northwestern. Tonight, I got my answer. And now I'm wondering what it would be like to do it when you're not panicking." That salvation. Before Sophia could process what was happening, Benjamin leaned down and kissed her again. This time it wasn't panic or desperation. It was slow, deliberate, thorough. His lips were soft but insistent, and when his tongue traced the seam of her lips, she opened for him without thinking. The kiss tasted like champagne and possibility, and everything she'd been denying herself for 18 months. Her hands fisted in his jacket, pulling him closer, and she heard him make a low sound that sent heat spiraling through her entire body. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. "Still think it was just panic?" Benjamin murmured against her lips. Sophia couldn't speak. Her entire world had shifted, and she wasn't sure which direction was up anymore. "This is a terrible idea," she whispered. "Probably," Benjamin agreed. "But I'm willing to risk it if you are." Sophia looked into his eyes, those beautiful blue eyes that had been haunting her dreams for months, and made her second terrible decision of the night. "Okay," she said, "but we need rules, boundaries. This is fake, Benjamin. Whatever this is between us, it can't be real. It's too complicated." Something flickered across Benjamin's expression: disappointment? Relief? She couldn't tell. "Of course," he said, stepping back and giving her space to breathe. "Fake boundaries. Understood." "Good." Sophia smoothed down her dress, trying to regain some composure. "So, how long do we keep this up? And what exactly are we doing?" Benjamin grinned, and Sophia felt her resolve waver dangerously. "Well, darling, I guess we're planning a fake wedding. Chicago, Illinois. Sophia's Lincoln Park apartment." Sophia's apartment looked like a strategic command center. She'd spent the entire Sunday morning after what she was now calling the Great Deception, creating what she'd titled The Complete Manual for Fake Dating Benjamin Harper Without Losing Your Sanity or Your Self-Respect. The manual currently consisted of 22 typed pages, 4 flowcharts, and a timeline that stretched across her entire living room wall. It was color-coded by priority level. Sophia believed in systems. Systems had gotten her through design school, through her parents' messy separation, through the soul-crushing process of building her freelance business from scratch. Systems were safe, controllable, predictable. Kissing Benjamin Harper was the antithesis of systematic. The doorbell chimed at precisely 2 p.m., which was when they'd agreed to meet to establish operational parameters for their arrangement. Sophia had chosen those exact words because they sounded professional and businesslike, and definitely not like she'd been replaying the way he'd tasted like champagne and danger. She opened the door to find Benjamin holding 2 coffee cups and a white bakery bag that smelled like heaven. "Glazed donuts from Stan's on North," he said, raising the bag. "I remembered you used to live off these during finals week." Sophia's carefully constructed professional facade wavered. He'd remembered her favorite stress food from college. That was not playing fair." "Thank you," she said, stepping aside to let him enter. "That's thoughtful." Benjamin walked into her living room and stopped dead. "Sophia, what in the world is this?" "What's what?" Sophia followed his gaze to her wall display. "Oh, that's our operational framework." "Operational framework?" Benjamin repeated slowly. He moved closer to examine the flowcharts. "You created a flowchart for fake dating. I created multiple flowcharts and a timeline and contingency protocols for various scenarios." Sophia set the coffee cups on her kitchen counter, trying to ignore the way Benjamin was studying her wall display like she'd lost her mind. "Organization is essential for success." "Sophia." Benjamin turned to look at her, and she couldn't decipher his expression. "This is fake dating, not a military campaign." And a cower made anew was like, "There's no need to be condescending," Sophia said, crossing her arms defensively. "This situation has the potential to become extremely complicated very quickly. We need clear boundaries and expectations or someone's going to get hurt." "Someone like you." The question was quiet, but it hit Sophia square in the chest. She busied herself opening the donut bag, not trusting herself to meet his eyes. "Someone like both of us," she said firmly. "Now, let's review the parameters. I've identified several critical areas we need to address." Benjamin settled onto her couch, propping his chin on his hand with an expression of amused resignation. "I'm listening." It would my bast the scream it, end of lation his not of dition to the dive. Sophia pulled up her typed document. First, duration. I propose we maintain this arrangement for 8 months. That should provide sufficient time for family interest to wane and for your mother's matchmaking efforts to redirect elsewhere. 8 months? Benjamin nodded thoughtfully. Reasonable. Second, public displays of affection. We need to establish what's acceptable and what crosses professional boundaries. What do you think crosses the line? Sophia felt her cheeks warm. Well, kissing should be limited to instances when it's absolutely necessary for maintaining appearances. Like last night. Exactly like last night. Sophia made a notation on her document. Brief, believable, but nothing excessive. Define excessive. Sophia looked up from her notes to find Benjamin watching her with that entertained expression that made her stomach flutter dangerously. You know perfectly well what excessive means. Do I? Because I want to ensure we're completely aligned here, Sophia. What if someone expects us to kiss goodbye after a family dinner? What if we're at a wedding and they play a slow song? What if— Fine, Sophia interrupted, her face burning. Kissing is acceptable when necessary for appearances, but nothing longer than 3 seconds. And no tongue involvement. No tongue involvement, Benjamin repeated, and Sophia was absolutely certain he was suppressing laughter. Understood. What else? Third, personal information sharing. We need to know enough about each other to make this convincing, but we shouldn't share anything too intimate. What qualifies as too intimate? Sophia consulted her notes. Childhood trauma, deepest insecurities, romantic history, long-term life goals beyond our immediate situation. You actually made a list of forbidden conversation topics. Yes. Sophia turned her laptop around to show him. See, approved topics include favorite foods, movies, books, travel experiences, work stories, and general family information. Prohibited topics include— Sophia. Benjamin reached across her coffee table and gently closed her laptop. Can I ask you something? What? Why are you so terrified of this? The question caught Sophia completely off guard. I'm not terrified. I'm being practical. You're being scared out of your mind, Benjamin said gently. You've got more rules and safety measures here than most actual relationships have. What are you so afraid of? Sophia stared at him, feeling suddenly exposed. The truth was, she was afraid of exactly what he was implying, that this would stop feeling fake, that she'd forget it was temporary, that she'd fall for him completely this time, and when it ended she'd be left trying to piece her heart back together. But she couldn't say that. So instead, she said, I'm afraid of complications. Complications are bad for business, bad for family relationships, bad for everything. Clear boundaries prevent complications. Benjamin was quiet for a long moment, studying her face with those perceptive blue eyes. Okay, he said finally. Clear boundaries it is. What else is on your list? Relief flooded through her. Physical contact. Hand-holding is acceptable, as are brief kisses, hello and goodbye, and necessary touches for photographs. Anything more intimate should be discussed in advance. Anything more intimate, Benjamin repeated. Such as, Sophia's mouth went dry. Such as if we had to share sleeping arrangements for some reason, or if someone expected us to dance closely, or if— Got it. Discuss first. Next. Social media presence. We should probably post a few photos together, but nothing overly romantic. Maybe some casual couple shots, but no mushy captions. No mushy captions? Benjamin agreed solemnly. This is incredibly thorough, Sophia. Something in his tone made her look up sharply. Are you making fun of me? I'm impressed by you, Benjamin said. And he sounded completely sincere. This is exactly the kind of strategic thinking that makes you such a talented designer. You anticipate problems before they occur. Sophia felt a warm glow in her chest at the compliment. Thank you. However, Benjamin continued, I think you might be overcomplicating things. How so? Benjamin leaned forward, his expression growing serious. Sophia, we've known each other for 15 years. We're not strangers. We don't need an instruction manual to figure out how to act like we care about each other. Because we do care about each other, don't we? Sophia's chest tightened. That's exactly the problem. Why is caring a problem? I have rugetamid in my no to the part. I've mein different. Because caring makes it harder to keep things fake. The words exploded out of her before she could stop them. She cut herself off, horrified by what she'd almost revealed. "'Cause you what?" Benjamin's voice was very soft. Sophia stared down at her hands. "Nothing. Forget I said anything. Sophia." Benjamin reached across the coffee table and covered her hands with his. His palms were warm, slightly rough from whatever weekend activities he'd taken up recently. "Talk to me." "I can't." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "It's on the prohibited topics list." "Forget the list." Sophia's head snapped up. Benjamin was looking at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "The list is ridiculous, Sophia. And we both know it. We're not strangers, and we're not business associates. We're two people who have history, who have feelings, complicated feelings maybe, but feelings nonetheless. And if we're going to do this, we need to acknowledge that. Acknowledging it makes it dangerous," Sophia said. "And not acknowledging it makes it impossible." Benjamin's thumbs stroked over her knuckles, and Sophia felt her resolve crumbling. "Sophia, I'm not going to pretend I don't find you attractive. I'm not going to pretend I didn't think about you after we almost kissed 18 months ago. And I'm definitely not going to pretend that kissing you last night didn't feel like coming home." Sophia's heart stopped. "Benjamin, but," he continued, "I also understand that this is complicated, that we both have reasons to be cautious. So here's what I propose. We scrap your 22-page manual and we agree on 3 simple rules instead." "3 rules," Sophia repeated weakly. "3 rules. 1. We're honest with each other. No games, no manipulation, no hidden agendas. 2. We respect each other's boundaries, but we discuss those boundaries like adults instead of pretending they don't exist. And 3. He paused, his eyes searching her face. "We promise that when this is over, however it ends, we don't let it destroy our friendship." Sophia looked down at their joined hands. His proposal was terrifying in its simplicity. No flowcharts, no contingency plans, no safety net of over-detailed regulations. Just honesty and trust, and the promise that they'd still care about each other when the dust settled. "Those are terrible rules," she said finally. "I know they don't provide any protection whatsoever. I know we're going to get hurt." Benjamin was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was very gentle. "Maybe. But Sophia, hiding behind a list of rules isn't going to protect us from getting hurt. It's just going to prevent us from actually living." Sophia closed her eyes, feeling the last of her carefully constructed defenses crumble. When she opened them again, Benjamin was still watching her with that patient, understanding expression that made her want to cry. "Okay," she whispered. 3 rules. Benjamin's smile was radiant. 3 rules, but I'm keeping the timeline," Sophia added quickly. 8 months, and then we reassess." "Fair enough." Benjamin brought her hands to his lips and pressed a soft kiss to her knuckles. "Now, can we please eat these donuts before they get stale? I've been craving Stan's glazed donuts all week." Sophia laughed despite herself. "You're impossible. Say, you're beautiful when you laugh," Benjamin said casually, releasing her hands to reach for the donut bag. "Has anyone ever told you that?" Heat flooded Sophia's cheeks. "That's exactly the kind of thing that's going to make this complicated." "Good thing we agreed to be honest about complicated things," Benjamin said, taking a bite of his donut and grinning at her. "This is going to be interesting, Sophia Thompson." Sophia watched him eat, noting the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the way he hummed appreciatively at the taste of the sweet glaze. 8 months of this. 8 months of pretending to date the man she'd been half in love with for years. She was either about to have the best 8 months of her life, or she was about to completely obliterate her heart. Possibly both. "Yeah," she said, reaching for her own donut. "Interesting is definitely one word for it. Wetka, Illinois. The Thompson family home." "You look nervous," Benjamin observed, adjusting his tie in the hallway mirror outside Sophia's childhood home. "It's just Sunday dinner, Sophia. We've done this before." "Not as your fake girlfriend," Sophia whispered harshly, smoothing her navy dress for the 7th time. "What if they ask questions we can't answer? What if my mother starts planning our wedding? What if my father wants to have the talk with you about your intentions? What if—" "Sophia?" Benjamin caught her hands, stilling their frantic movements. "Breathe. We've got this. Remember rule number 1. Honesty. Sophia took a shaky breath. Right, honesty. And rule number 2, respect boundaries. She was starting to calm down, discuss like adults. And rule number 3. Sophia looked up into Benjamin's reassuring blue eyes. Don't destroy our friendship. Exactly. Benjamin squeezed her hands gently. Now, what's the absolute worst thing that could happen in there? Sophia considered this seriously. My mother could show them the 17 photos she took of us at the party and start crying about how she's known we were soulmates since we were in diapers. Did she actually take 17 photos of us? 18, technically. She posted 3 on Facebook with the caption, "My baby girl found her Prince Charming." It got 47 likes and 23 comments. Your mother commented with 4 heart emojis and offered to help plan the wedding. Benjamin's eyebrows shot up. My mother offered to help plan our fake wedding. Apparently, she and my mom have been Facebook friends for 6 years. They've been commenting on each other's posts about us being perfect for each other since college. Sophia straightened his already perfect tie, using the action to avoid his penetrating gaze. Are you absolutely sure you're ready for this? Because once we walk through that door, we're committed to this performance for the next few hours. Benjamin was quiet for a moment. When Sophia finally looked up, he was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite interpret. Sophia, he said softly, what if it doesn't feel like a performance? Before Sophia could process what he meant or figure out how to respond, the front door swung open with dramatic flair. Finally, Laura Thompson beamed at them, her face glowing with maternal excitement. I was starting to worry you'd gotten lost. Come in, come in. Your father's been pacing the living room for 30 minutes, Benjamin. He's practically beside himself with joy. They stepped into the familiar warmth of Sophia's childhood home, and immediately Sophia felt some of her tension ease. The house smelled like her mother's legendary pot roast and fresh dinner rolls. Soft jazz drifted from the sound system, and late afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows, casting everything in golden, nostalgic tones. Benjamin, my boy, Sophia's father, William, emerged from the kitchen with a craft beer in hand and a grin that could have powered the entire North Shore. I have to tell you, when Laura told me what happened at the anniversary party, I was shocked. But thinking about it now, he clapped Benjamin on the shoulder with obvious affection. I should have seen this coming years ago. Should you have? Benjamin accepted the beer William offered him, settling easily into the familiar rhythm of family conversation. Absolutely. You two were joined at the hip as kids. And then in college, whenever Sophia would come home from Northwestern, she'd always have stories about something clever you'd said or some funny thing you'd done. I used to tease her mercilessly about having a crush. Sophia felt her face flame red hot. Dad, you absolutely did not. I absolutely did. Remember the time you came home from that New Year's party junior year and you were all flustered because Benjamin had Dad. Sophia's voice came out as a strangled squeak. Can we not? Benjamin looked fascinated. What happened at the New Year's party? Nothing happened, Sophia said quickly. Nothing worth discussing. Dinner, Sophia announced at maximum volume. Shouldn't we check on dinner? I think I smell something that might be burning. Her parents exchanged one of those knowing looks that made Sophia want to disappear through the hardwood floor. The roast is fine, sweetheart, her mother said, eyes twinkling with mischief. But sit down, both of you. We want to hear absolutely everything, and I do mean everything. They settled onto the familiar sectional in the living room, and Sophia found herself pressed close to Benjamin's side when he draped his arm around her shoulders. It should have felt awkward or staged, but instead it felt natural, like they'd been sitting this way for years instead of pretending for mere days. So, William leaned forward, clearly in full interrogation mode. Start from the beginning. When exactly did you realize you had romantic feelings for each other? Sophia opened her mouth to deliver the rehearsed story they'd discussed, but Benjamin spoke first. I think I've had feelings for Sophia longer than I've been willing to admit to myself, he said, and his voice carried such genuine sincerity that Sophia's heart skipped several beats. But it took some time for me to understand what those feelings actually meant. And what do they mean? Laura asked softly, leaning forward with obvious maternal interest. Benjamin looked down at Sophia, and for a moment that stretched like eternity, she felt like they were the only two people in the universe. They mean that I can't imagine my life without her in it, he said quietly. They mean that she's the first person I want to share good news with, and the first person I want to comfort me when things go wrong. They mean that somewhere along the way, she stopped being just my friend and became everything. The collective awe from her parents was audible, but Sophia barely heard it. She was staring up at Benjamin's face, completely lost in the warmth of his blue eyes. His words sounded so real, so heartfelt, that for a terrifying moment she almost believed them herself. "That's beautiful, son," William said, his voice slightly thick with emotion. "And you, Sophia? When did you know?" Sophia's throat felt like it was lined with cotton. Well, she looked into Benjamin's encouraging eyes and found herself speaking from somewhere deeper than she'd intended. "I think I've been fighting my feelings for Benjamin for longer than I care to admit. There were so many moments over the years when I'd catch myself thinking about him differently, but I was always too scared to examine what that meant." "What changed?" Laura asked gently. "Time, I guess," Sophia said, surprised by her own honesty. "And realizing that being scared of something doesn't make it go away. It just makes you miss out on something that could be wonderful." Benjamin's arm tightened around her shoulders, and when she glanced up at him, his expression was so tender it made her chest ache. "When's the wedding?" William asked with a grin. "Because I have to tell you, I've been looking forward to walking my daughter down the aisle for about 25 years now." Sophia's eyes went wide. Benjamin's hand found hers and squeezed gently. "We haven't set a date yet," Benjamin said smoothly. "We're enjoying being engaged for now, taking time to plan something really special." "Nonsense." Laura waved her hand dismissively. "You're both 30-something. You don't have the luxury of long engagements. Benjamin, what are your thoughts on timeline?" Benjamin laughed, that easy, charming laugh that Sophia remembered from 1,000 college parties. "Well, Mrs. Thompson, I'm in no hurry to pressure Sophia into anything. When she's ready, I'll be ready." "Good answer," William declared approvingly. "I like that. Shows maturity. Much better than that pretentious jerk she dated after college. What was his name? The one who worked in finance and never took off his sunglasses." "Kevin," Sophia mumbled. "Yes, terrible personality, no sense of humor whatsoever." "Dad, what?" "I have eyes, sweetheart." The man once spent an entire Thanksgiving dinner talking about cryptocurrency. "Now, Benjamin, let's discuss your career trajectory and your thoughts on home ownership." "I think I need to help Mom in the kitchen," Sophia announced suddenly. The walls of the living room were closing in, and if she had to endure one more minute of her father's well-intentioned but mortifying interrogation, she was going to spontaneously combust. "I'll help too," Benjamin said, starting to rise. "No," Sophia said quickly, then softened her tone. "I mean, you stay here with Dad. Bond, talk about sports or whatever." The sad house from the Longs tapped it. In the kitchen, Laura was pulling the pot roast from the oven, humming contentedly to herself. She looked up when Sophia entered, and her smile was radiant. "Sweetheart, I have to tell you how happy this makes me," she said, setting the roast on the counter to rest. "I've been hoping for this for so long. Mom, no, let me say this." Laura turned to face her daughter fully. "Benjamin is a wonderful man, Sophia. He's kind, intelligent, successful, and most importantly, he clearly adores you. The way he looks at you." She pressed her hand to her heart. "It's like you hung the moon." Sophia felt a pang of guilt so sharp it took her breath away. "Mom, you know it's not always that simple. It should not have south." "Of course it's not simple, honey. Nothing worthwhile ever is." Laura moved closer, her expression growing serious. "But Sophia, I've watched you date for over a decade now, and I've never seen you look at anyone the way you look at Benjamin. You light up when he's around. You always have, even as children." "We're just taking things slow," Sophia said weakly. "I understand that, and I think it's smart." Laura reached out to tuck a strand of hair behind Sophia's ear, the gesture achingly familiar from childhood. "But sweetheart, don't let fear keep you from something beautiful. I've watched you build walls to protect yourself, and I understand why. But Benjamin is worth taking the risk." Before Sophia could respond or figure out how to respond, masculine laughter erupted from the living room, followed by her father's distinctive guffaw. "What are they talking about out there?" Sophia asked, grateful for the distraction. Laura peered around the corner and smiled. "Benjamin is telling your father about the time in college when you convinced him to help you move that ridiculous antique armoire up to your third-floor apartment. And halfway up the stairs, you both realized it was never going to fit through the door." "Oh no," Sophia groaned. "He's not supposed to remember that." He remembers everything about you, sweetheart. That's how I know this is real." Sophia's heart clenched. If only her mother knew how complicated real had become. They carried dinner into the dining room, where Benjamin and William were deep in conversation about the Cubs' prospects for the upcoming season. Benjamin looked completely at ease, gesticulating with his beer bottle as he made some point about pitching rotations. "This is nice," Sophia thought, watching him interact with her father. "This feels right." And that was exactly the problem. Dinner conversation flowed easily, covering everything from Benjamin's latest cases at the firm to Sophia's recent freelance projects to her parents' plans for their upcoming trip to Italy. Benjamin charmed her mother with stories about his sister's new baby and impressed her father with his knowledge of vintage cars. He complimented the pot roast, laughed at William's terrible dad jokes, and helped clear the table without being asked. He was perfect. Too perfect. "So, Benjamin," Laura said as they settled in the living room for coffee and her famous apple pie, "tell us about your family. How are your parents handling this news?" Benjamin's smile became slightly strained. "Well, my mother is enthusiastic. She's already started asking about guest lists and venues." "And your father?" "My father is pleased," Benjamin said carefully. "He's always been fond of Sophia." Sophia caught the subtle tension in his voice and squeezed his hand supportively. "Benjamin's family has very high expectations," she said. "They can be a bit intense sometimes." "All families can be intense, sweetheart," William said kindly. "The important thing is that you two are happy." "Are you happy, Benjamin?" Benjamin looked down at Sophia, and his expression was so soft, so genuine that her breath caught. "Happier than I've been in a long time," he said quietly. "Good," Laura declared, wiping away what looked suspiciously like tears. "That's all we've ever wanted for our girl, someone who makes her happy. My God of my breasted." 2 hours later, they were finally making their escape, laden down with leftovers and promises to come back soon. Laura hugged Benjamin goodbye like he was already family, and William shook his hand with the kind of firm grip that conveyed both approval and subtle warning. "Drive safely," Laura called from the front porch. "And Benjamin, welcome to the family, sweetheart." They drove in comfortable silence for several minutes before Benjamin spoke. "That went well," he said, glancing over at Sophia. "Your parents are wonderful. They love you," Sophia said softly. "They always have, and I love them." Benjamin's voice was warm. "Your family feels like home, and a facer." Sophia's chest tightened at the wistfulness in his tone. "Benjamin, are you okay? You seemed a little tense when they asked about your parents." Benjamin was quiet for so long that Sophia thought he wasn't going to answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was carefully neutral. "My family is complicated. My mother means well, but she's very focused on appearances, the right schools, the right career, the right marriage. My father is successful and demanding and has very specific ideas about what my life should look like. And those ideas don't match what you want." "I'm not always sure what I want," Benjamin admitted. "I've spent so long trying to meet their expectations that I sometimes lose track of my own desires." Sophia studied his profile in the dim light from the dashboard. "Is that why you agreed to this? To buy yourself time to figure things out?" Benjamin pulled into her apartment building's parking garage and turned off the engine. In the sudden silence, Sophia could hear the rapid beating of her own heart. "Partly," he said finally. "But also," he turned to look at her, and his eyes were serious. "Also because spending time with you, even fake time, feels better than any real relationship I've ever had." Sophia's breath caught. "Benjamin, I know," he said quickly. "I know this is supposed to be fake. I know we have rules and boundaries and an expiration date. But Sophia, sitting in your parents' living room tonight, holding your hand, listening to your mother talk about how happy you look, it didn't feel fake. It felt like the most real thing I've ever experienced." Sophia stared at him, her heart hammering against her ribs. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "I know. We agreed to keep it simple. I know. 8 months, and then we walk away. I know." Benjamin's hand came up to cup her cheek, and Sophia's resolve crumbled like sand. "But what if we don't want to walk away?" quote in the fonder. Before Sophia could answer, before she could think of all the reasons why this was a terrible idea, Benjamin leaned across the console and kissed her. This kiss was different from the others. Slower, deeper, more deliberate. It tasted like possibility and heartbreak, and everything she'd been trying not to want. When his thumb stroked across her cheekbone, she melted into him completely. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. This is going to end badly, Sophia whispered against his lips. Probably, Benjamin agreed. But maybe it'll be worth it. It is another way destructive Novov. You didn't from not. Sophia looked into his eyes, those beautiful blue eyes that had been haunting her dreams for years, and realized that somewhere between fake engagement and Sunday dinner, she'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love with Benjamin Harper, and that scared her more than anything she'd ever faced in her life. "Good night, Benjamin," she said softly, reaching for the door handle. "Good night, Sophia." His voice was rough with emotion. "Sweet dreams." As she watched him drive away, Sophia pressed her fingers to her lips, still feeling the warmth of his kiss. 8 months had suddenly become both an eternity and nowhere near long enough. She was in serious trouble. Chicago, Illinois, various locations. The text came at 7:47 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, jolting Sophia awake from dreams that definitely violated their keep-it-fake agreement. "Benjamin, emergency. My mother is planning an engagement party this weekend for us. Help." Sophia stared at her phone screen, her brain struggling to process the words through her coffee-deprived haze. An engagement party this weekend for their fake engagement. She was doomed. Her phone buzzed again. "Benjamin, she's invited 150 people, including your parents and my entire law firm, and possibly the mayor." "Sophia, the mayor?" "Benjamin, my mother knows people. Can you meet for lunch? We need to strategize." "Sophia, where?" "Benjamin, that little cafe on State Street where we used to study for finals. Noon." Sophia's heart did something acrobatic at the casual reference to their college memories. 3 weeks into their fake engagement, and Benjamin kept doing things like that, mentioning shared experiences with such natural ease that she sometimes forgot this was all pretend. "Sophia, I'll be there." She arrived at Café Luna 15 minutes early, needing the extra time to compose herself. The cafe looked exactly the same as it had 8 years ago. Exposed brick walls covered with local artwork, mismatched vintage furniture, and the intoxicating aroma of freshly ground coffee beans. She'd spent countless hours here during college, usually with Benjamin across from her, both of them surrounded by law books and design portfolios, surviving on caffeine and determination. She was lost in memories when familiar laughter drew her attention to the counter. Benjamin stood there chatting with Marco, the cafe's owner, gesturing animatedly as he spoke. He was wearing dark jeans and a burgundy sweater that made his eyes look impossibly blue, and his hair was slightly mussed like he'd been running his hands through it, a nervous habit she remembered from college. "Sophia." Marco spotted her and waved enthusiastically. "Look who came back. Benjamin was just telling me about your engagement. Madonna mia, I always knew you two would end up together." Heat flooded Sophia's cheeks as Benjamin turned around, his smile warm and slightly apologetic. "Marco's been threatening to throw us an engagement party of his own," he said, approaching her table with 2 coffee cups. "I got you a vanilla latte with an extra shot. Some habits never change." The fact that he remembered her exact coffee order from college shouldn't have made her stomach flutter, but it absolutely did. "Thank you," she said softly, accepting the warm cup. "Now, about this engagement party situation." Benjamin slumped into the chair across from her with the dramatic flair of a man facing execution. "My mother called me at 6 this morning. Apparently, she's been planning this since the anniversary party. She's rented the ballroom at the Chicago Athletic Association, hired a string quartet, and ordered enough champagne to float a yacht. This weekend," Sophia squeaked. "As in 5 days from now?" 4 days, technically. It's Saturday night." Benjamin ran his hand through his hair, confirming Sophia's suspicion about his nervous state. "She said she didn't want to give people too much time to make other plans, which is my mother's way of saying she wanted to surprise us so we couldn't object." Sophia stared at him in horror. "Benjamin, we can't do this. An engagement party it's serious. It's official. People will expect speeches and toasts. And..." She trailed off as the full implications hit her. "Your entire law firm will be there, my parents' friends, our college friends. This isn't some small family dinner we can charm our way through. This is a full-scale production." "I know." Benjamin's voice was grim. "And here's the worst part. Olivia's going to be there." Sophia's coffee cup paused halfway to her lips. "Your ex-fiancée Olivia. Why would she be there?" "Because she works at my firm now, started 3 months ago in corporate law." Benjamin's expression was carefully neutral. but Sophia caught the tension in his shoulders. And because my mother, in her infinite wisdom, thought it would be healing and mature to invite her to show there are no hard feelings. Oh my. Sophia caught herself before she finished the phrase. Benjamin, this is a disaster. We have to tell them the truth. Do we? Benjamin leaned forward, his eyes searching her face. Sophia, I've been thinking about this all morning, and maybe this is exactly what we need. A fake engagement party in front of everyone we know. How is that what we need? Because it forces us to figure out what we're really doing here. Benjamin's voice was quiet but intense. Sophia, we've been tiptoeing around this for 3 weeks, pretending we're just helping each other out. But what happened Sunday night in your parents' living room? That wasn't fake. The way you look at me, the way I feel when I'm with you, none of this is fake anymore. Sophia's heart was hammering so hard she was sure the entire cafe could hear it. Benjamin, I'm falling for you, Sophia. Actually falling for you. And I hope that maybe you're falling for me too. Have you waited now and from section? The words hung in the air between them like a confession and a challenge all at once. Sophia stared into Benjamin's blue eyes, seeing hope and vulnerability and something that looked dangerously like love. This is insane, she whispered. Maybe. But is it more insane than pretending we don't have feelings for each other? Benjamin reached across the table and covered her hand with his. Sophia, what if we stopped calling this fake? What if we just tried for real this time? Before Sophia could answer, before she could process the magnitude of what he was suggesting, her phone rang with her mother's distinctive ringtone. Hi, Mom, Sophia answered, trying to keep her voice steady while her entire world shifted around her. Sweetheart, I just got off the phone with Benjamin's mother. Such a lovely woman, and I am beside myself with excitement about Saturday, an engagement party at the Chicago Athletic Association. I've already called your Aunt Evelyn and Cousin Natalie, and we're going shopping tomorrow for dresses. This is so romantic. Sophia met Benjamin's gaze across the table. He was watching her with an expression that was equal parts panic and determination. Mom, about the party. Oh, and honey, Benjamin's mother mentioned that some of your college friends will be there. Emily and Nathan, and that whole crowd. I'm so excited to see everyone again. It'll be like a reunion. Sophia's stomach dropped. Emily and Nathan weren't just college friends. They were the friends who'd witnessed her giant crush on Benjamin throughout their entire senior year. The friends who'd consoled her when Benjamin started dating Olivia. The friends who would see right through their charade in approximately 30 seconds. Mom, and sweetheart, your father is already working on his father of the bride's speech. He's been practicing in the garage all morning. Mrs. Henderson called to complain about the noise. He's writing a speech. Sophia's voice came out as a croak. Of course, he's writing a speech. This is his little girl's engagement party. Oh, honey, I'm just so happy. You and Benjamin are perfect together. Everyone's always said so. When Sophia finally managed to end the call, she found Benjamin watching her with a mixture of sympathy and amusement. Father of the bride speech? He asked gently. He's practicing in the garage. Sophia buried her face in her hands. Benjamin, we have to tell them this has gone too far. People are writing speeches. Your mother is spending a fortune. My dad is practicing in the garage. Or, Benjamin said slowly, we could make it real. Sophia's head snapped up. What? Think about it, Sophia. Everyone already believes we're engaged. Everyone's already invested in our relationship. Our families are thrilled. Our friends are excited. Maybe the universe is trying to tell us something. The universe is trying to tell us we're terrible people who lie to their families. Benjamin laughed. And the sound was so warm and genuine that despite everything, Sophia felt herself smiling. Okay, maybe not the universe. But Sophia, I meant what I said. I'm falling for you hard, and if you feel even a fraction of what I feel, of course I feel it, Sophia said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. I've been fighting my feelings for you for 3 weeks. For 3 years, if I'm being honest. But Benjamin, this isn't some romantic comedy where everything works out perfectly. This is real life with real consequences. What happens when we break up? What happens to our families? Our friendship? Your career? What happens if we don't try? Benjamin countered. Sophia, I spent 2 years engaged to Olivia, and I never felt for her 1/10 of what I feel for you. I've never laughed with anyone the way I laugh with you. I've never felt as comfortable being myself as I do when I'm with you. Are you really willing to walk away from that because you're scared? I'm terrified, Sophia admitted. I'm absolutely terrified. Of we one state. Because if this goes wrong, then we'll figure it out together. Benjamin squeezed her hand. But Sophia, what if it goes right? What if this crazy, impossible fake engagement turns into the real thing? What if we stop running from this and just jump? Sophia looked into his eyes and saw her own fears and hopes reflected back at her. This was crazy. This was reckless. This was everything she'd tried to avoid her entire adult life. It was also the most tempting thing she'd ever heard. We'd have to tell our families the truth, she said slowly. About how this started. Eventually. Eventually, Benjamin agreed, but not necessarily before Saturday. And we'd have to figure out how to navigate your ex-fiancé being there. Together, Benjamin said firmly, we'd figure it out together. And we'd have to actually plan a real wedding with real guest lists and real flowers and real… Sophia. Benjamin's voice was gentle but firm. Are you talking yourself into this or out of it? Sophia stared at him, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. She thought about Sunday dinner with her parents, about the way Benjamin had fit so seamlessly into her family, about the way her mother had cried with happiness. She thought about the past 3 weeks, about how natural and right being with Benjamin had felt, even when she was trying to convince herself it was all pretend. She thought about the way he kissed her like she was precious and necessary and home. I'm talking myself into it, she whispered. I think I'm actually talking myself into it. Benjamin's smile was brilliant. Yeah? Yeah. But Benjamin, if we do this, if we really do this, we have to be all in. No more safety nets, no more expiration dates, no more pretending this is just convenient for both of us. All in, Benjamin agreed solemnly. Starting right now. Starting right now, Sophia repeated. And then because her heart was full and her head was spinning and Benjamin was looking at her like she'd just handed him the world, she leaned across the table and kissed him. Right there in Café Luna, surrounded by the ghosts of their college selves and the promise of their future, Sophia Thompson kissed Benjamin Harper with everything she had. And when they broke apart, breathless and grinning like idiots, she realized that this was the moment everything changed. This was the moment their fake engagement became real. So, Benjamin said, still grinning, I guess we're really doing this. I guess we are. Sophia felt giddy with possibility and terror in equal measure. We're really actually doing this. In that case, Benjamin said, reaching into his jacket pocket, I think you need a proper ring. Sophia's breath caught as he pulled out a small velvet box. Benjamin, you didn't. I bought it 2 weeks ago, he admitted, his cheeks flushing slightly. I told myself it was just for appearances, but I think I was lying to myself. I think I bought it because some part of me was already hoping this would become real. With trembling fingers, Sophia opened the box to reveal a stunning vintage-style ring, a brilliant cut diamond surrounded by smaller stones in an Art Deco setting that was absolutely perfect for her aesthetic. Benjamin, she breathed, it's beautiful. May I? He asked, taking the ring from the box. Sophia extended her left hand, and Benjamin slipped the ring onto her finger with infinite care. It fit perfectly, catching the afternoon light streaming through the cafe windows and throwing tiny rainbows across their joined hands. Perfect fit, Benjamin murmured, bringing her hand to his lips to press a soft kiss to her knuckles. How did you know my size? Benjamin's smile was slightly sheepish. I may have enlisted your mother's help. I told her I wanted to surprise you with a promise ring for your birthday. You've been planning this for 2 weeks? I've been hoping for this for 2 weeks, Benjamin corrected. There's a difference. Sophia stared down at the ring on her finger, her real engagement ring, and felt a surge of joy so intense it took her breath away. This was happening. This was actually happening. We should probably start planning an actual wedding, she said, and the words felt surreal coming out of her mouth. We should probably survive Saturday night first, Benjamin said with a laugh. Speaking of which, we need to prepare for Olivia being there. Sophia felt a flicker of anxiety. What's she like? I mean, I know you were together for 2 years, but I don't really know her. Benjamin was quiet for a moment, considering. Olivia is polished, ambitious, very focused on success and appearance. She's not a bad person, but she's not you, Sophia. She never made me laugh the way you do. She never made me feel like I could just be myself. Why did you propose to her? Because it made sense on paper. Our families approved. Our careers were compatible. We looked good together. Benjamin's expression was rueful, but looking good together and actually being good together are two very different things. And you think we're good together? I think we're perfect together, Benjamin said without hesitation. I think we balance each other out. I think we make each other better, and I think what we have is worth fighting for. Sophia felt her heart swell with love and gratitude, and just a touch of lingering terror. Okay, so, how do we handle Saturday night? Together, Benjamin said firmly. We handle it together. We're honest about our feelings, the real ones. We don't let anyone make us feel defensive about our relationship, and we remember that what matters isn't what anyone else thinks. What matters is what we know to be true, which is— Benjamin's smile was soft and sure. That we're crazy about each other. That this started as fake but became real somewhere along the way, and that we're brave enough to see where it goes. Their sword-backed and of model screet. Sophia looked down at her ring again, still hardly believing it was real. I can't believe we're doing this. Having second thoughts. No, Sophia said, surprising herself with how certain she sounded. No second thoughts, just overwhelming first thoughts. Benjamin laughed and reached for her other hand. Want to know what I'm thinking? Always. I'm thinking that Saturday night is going to be either the best night of our lives or a complete disaster. And either way, we're going to face it together. Very romantic, Sophia said dryly. I'm also thinking, Benjamin continued, his voice growing softer, that I love you, Sophia Thompson. I love your organizational charts and your color-coded timelines and the way you scrunch your nose when you're concentrating. I love that you remember everyone's birthday and that you cry during dog food commercials and that you always steal the last French fry even though you pretend you're not that hungry. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Benjamin, I love that you're brave enough to take risks for the people you care about, even when you're scared. I love that you jumped into this crazy fake engagement to help us both. And I love that you're brave enough to make it real now. He paused, his thumb stroking over her knuckles. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving it to you. I love you too, Sophia whispered, the words feeling both foreign and perfectly natural on her tongue. I love you so much, it scares me, but I love you too much to let fear win. They sat in the cafe for another hour, holding hands across the small table, planning their survival strategy for Saturday night, and stealing kisses between sips of coffee. When they finally left, Sophia felt like she was floating 6 inches off the ground. As they stood on the sidewalk outside Café Luna, Benjamin pulled her close and kissed her thoroughly, seemingly oblivious to the pedestrians flowing around them. 4 days, he murmured against her lips. 4 days. Sophia agreed. Think we can pull this off with you? I think I can pull off anything. As Sophia walked back to her apartment, the autumn sun warm on her face and Benjamin's ring sparkling on her finger, she realized that somewhere between fake dating and real falling, she'd found exactly what she'd been looking for, without even knowing she'd been looking for it. Saturday night was going to be interesting. But for the first time in weeks, Sophia wasn't afraid of interesting anymore. Chicago, Illinois. The Chicago Athletic Association. Saturday night arrived with all the subtlety of a freight train, and Sophia Thompson was having what could generously be called a minor breakdown in the bathroom of Chicago's most exclusive private club. This is insane, she muttered to her reflection, adjusting her emerald green cocktail dress for the 15th time. Absolutely insane. 3 weeks ago, I was single and lying to my family about a fake boyfriend. And now I'm about to attend my own engagement party for my very real engagement to a man I've been in love with since college. This is not how normal people's lives work. Her phone buzzed with a text from Emily, her college roommate and maid of honor-elect. Emily. Girl, I'm at the bar and this party is fancy, like ice sculptures and string quartet fancy. Also, Benjamin looks ridiculously handsome in his tux and keeps checking his watch like he's nervous. It's adorable. Sophia. He's nervous. I'm having a full breakdown in the bathroom. Emily. Normal pre-party jitters. You've got this. Also, fair warning, Olivia is here and she looks like she stepped off a magazine cover, but don't worry, she's got nothing on you. Sophia's stomach dropped. Olivia, right? Benjamin's perfectly polished ex-fiancée, who was about to witness their very public declaration of love. The woman who had occupied Benjamin's life for 2 years and probably knew him in ways Sophia was still discovering. Sophia. What's she wearing? Emily. Black cocktail dress, designer everything. looking like she could run a Fortune 500 company before brunch. But Sophia, she looked sad. Like trying too hard to seem happy, sad. Before Sophia could respond, the bathroom door opened and her mother swept in, radiant in navy blue silk and practically glowing with maternal pride. "Sweetheart, there you are. Everyone's asking for you. The party is absolutely gorgeous. Benjamin's mother has outdone herself. There are white roses everywhere and the champagne is flowing like water." Zabel so. Laura Thompson paused, taking in her daughter's slightly panicked expression. "Honey, are you okay? You look a little pale." "I'm fine, Mom. Just taking a moment." "Wedding jitters," Laura said knowingly, moving to stand beside Sophia at the mirror. "Perfectly normal. I threw up twice before my engagement party with your father." "You threw up?" "Nerves, sweetheart. When you're about to publicly declare your love for someone in front of everyone you know, it's natural to feel a little overwhelmed." Laura reached out to smooth a strand of Sophia's hair. "But honey, I've been watching you and Benjamin together, and I've never seen you happier. The way you two look at each other, it's magical." Sophia felt a pang of guilt mixed with overwhelming love for her mother. "Mom, what if things don't work out the way everyone expects?" "Then you'll figure it out together," Laura said firmly. "Sophia, love isn't about guarantees. It's about finding someone worth taking the risk for. And sweetheart, Benjamin is absolutely worth the risk." Before Sophia could respond, the bathroom door burst open and Benjamin's sister Claire rushed in, wearing a stunning burgundy dress and a slightly frazzled expression. "Sophia, thank goodness I found you. We have a situation." "What kind of situation?" Sophia's voice went up an octave. "The good news, bad news kind. Good news, the party is spectacular and everyone's having a wonderful time. Bad news, Olivia cornered Benjamin about 20 minutes ago, and they've been talking privately ever since." He looks intense. Sophia felt like someone had dropped an ice cube down her spine. "Intense how?" "Like he's having a very serious conversation that he doesn't particularly want to be having," Claire said carefully. "I thought you should know in case you wanted to intervene." "Where are they?" "The library. Private room on the second floor." Sophia was already moving toward the door before Claire finished speaking. Laura caught her arm gently. "Honey, before you go charging up there, remember that Benjamin chose you. Whatever Olivia is saying to him, he's already made his choice." "But what if—" "No what ifs," Laura said firmly. "Trust him, Sophia. Trust what you two have built together." Sophia took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and headed for the library. Her heels clicked against the marble floors of the Chicago Athletic Association as she climbed the grand staircase, her heart hammering with each step. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see the glittering lights of downtown Chicago. But all she could think about was what conversation was happening behind the library's heavy oak doors. She paused outside the room, her hand raised to knock, when she heard Olivia's voice through the slightly open door. "Benjamin, please just think about what you're doing. We had 2 years together. 2 good years. Yes, we had our problems, but we can work through them. We're compatible in ways that matter. Professionally, socially, intellectually, we want the same things out of life." Sophia's blood turned to ice. She pressed herself against the wall beside the door, knowing she shouldn't eavesdrop, but unable to stop herself. "Olivia." Benjamin's voice was patient but firm. "We've been through this. We ended things for good reasons. Indulged in mafu, because of stress, because of the pressure from work and our families and planning the wedding. But Benjamin, that's all manageable. What we had was real and solid and built to last. What we had was convenient," Benjamin said quietly. "We looked good together on paper. Our families approved. Our careers meshed well. But Olivia, I never felt for you what I feel for Sophia. Not even close. You think you feel something for her. But Benjamin, you've known her forever. Don't confuse familiarity with love. Don't throw away something real for some childhood infatuation." Sophia's chest tightened. Childhood infatuation. Was that what people thought this was? "This isn't childhood infatuation." Benjamin's voice was stronger now, more certain. "Olivia, I spent 2 years trying to convince myself that what we had was enough. That companionship and compatibility were the same thing as love. But being with Sophia, it showed me what I was missing. What could she possibly give you that I can't?" Olivia's voice had taken on a sharp edge. "She makes me laugh until my sides hurt." She challenges me to be better without making me feel like I'm not good enough as I am. She sees through all my defenses and loves me anyway. She makes me feel like the best version of myself, instead of constantly trying to improve me. Sophia felt tears prick her eyes at the raw honesty in Benjamin's voice. And when I'm with her, Benjamin continued, I don't feel like I'm performing or trying to meet expectations. I feel like I'm home. Benjamin. Olivia's voice was softer now, pleading, Are you absolutely certain you're not making a mistake? Because once you walk downstairs and give that engagement speech, there's no going back. Everyone will expect you to follow through. I am following through, Benjamin said firmly. Olivia, I'm going to marry Sophia because I can't imagine my life without her. Not because everyone expects me to, but because she's become essential to who I am. Possibly withing. Sophia heard footsteps moving toward the door and quickly ducked into an alcove, pressing herself against the wall as Olivia emerged from the library. Even from a distance, Sophia could see that Olivia's composure was slightly cracked, her perfect makeup unable to hide the disappointment in her eyes. A moment later, Benjamin appeared in the doorway. He looked tired but resolute, and when he spotted Sophia in the alcove, his expression immediately softened. How much of that did you hear? He asked gently. Enough, Sophia said, stepping out of her hiding spot. Benjamin, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but Claire said you two were talking and I got worried. And hey, Benjamin moved to her, cupping her face in his hands. You don't need to explain. I would have done the same thing. Are you okay? That looked like it was difficult. Benjamin's smile was rueful. It was necessary. Olivia needed closure. And honestly, so did I. But Sophia, I meant every word I said in there. You are home to me. You're my best friend and my greatest love and the person I want to build a life with. Even though this whole thing started as a lie. Especially because it started as a lie, Benjamin said, his thumb stroking her cheekbones. Because it means we chose each other twice. Once out of convenience and once out of love. If you wanted an IT menacer was all of you wanted it. Before Sophia could respond, the sound of clinking glass echoed from downstairs, followed by her father's voice on the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. Speech time, Benjamin said with a grin. Ready to make this official? Ready, Sophia said, and realized she meant it completely. They descended the grand staircase hand in hand, emerging into the ballroom to find 150 of their closest family and friends arranged in a semicircle around a small stage. The room was a vision in white and gold, cascading white roses, twinkling fairy lights, and crystal chandeliers that cast everything in a warm, romantic glow. There they are. William Thompson's voice boomed through the microphone. The happy couple. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, and Sophia felt her heart swell as she took in the sea of loving, excited faces. Her college friends were clustered near the bar, beaming and waving. Benjamin's law firm colleagues looked impressed and approving. Their extended families were dabbing at their eyes with tissues. Before we hear from the lovebirds themselves, William continued, I wanted to say a few words as Sophia's father. I've known Benjamin since he was 12 years old, and I've watched him grow into a man of integrity, intelligence, and kindness. But more importantly, I've watched the way he looks at my daughter, like she hung the moon and stars just for him. Sophia felt tears threatening and blinked back rapidly. And I've watched my Sophia bloom these past few weeks in a way I haven't seen since she was a little girl. She's radiant, she's confident, she's deeply, obviously happy. That's what real love does. It makes you more yourself, not less. The crowd murmured appreciative agreement. So, please join me in raising a glass to Benjamin and Sophia, who took the long way around to finding each other, but got there just in time. The toasts and cheers were thunderous. Benjamin squeezed Sophia's hand and led her toward the stage, where someone pressed a microphone into his hand. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, Benjamin said, his voice carrying easily across the room. And thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate with us. I have to admit, when I woke up this morning, I was nervous about making a speech. Not because I don't know how I feel about Sophia, but because I wasn't sure I could find words big enough to express it. He turned to look at Sophia, and his expression was so tender it took her breath away. Sophia Thompson has been in my life for 15 years, but it took me way too long to realize she was the most important part of it. She's brilliant, her design work is stunning, and she can solve problems I didn't even know existed. She's funny. She makes me laugh until I can't breathe, usually when I need it most. She's brave, braver than she gives herself credit for, willing to take risks for the people she loves. Sophia felt tears spilling down her cheeks and didn't care. But mostly she's kind. She remembers everyone's coffee order and their birthday and their dog's name. She sends thank you notes and brings soup when you're sick, and always has tissues in her purse for when someone else needs them. She makes the world better just by being in it. And she makes me better just by loving me. Beshoodly. The room was completely silent, hanging on every word. I used to think love was about finding someone who fit into your life perfectly. But Sophia taught me that real love is about finding someone who makes you want to build a completely new life together. Someone who sees all your flaws and chooses to love you anyway. Someone who makes you brave enough to be your authentic self, even when that self is messy and imperfect and still figuring things out. Benjamin's voice grew stronger, more certain. Sophia, you are my best friend, my greatest adventure, and my safest harbor all at once. You are the person I want to share every good day with, and the person I want beside me through every difficult one. You are my choice, my joy, and my home. He paused, reaching into his jacket pocket. Which is why I have a confession to make. Sophia's heart stopped. Around them, the room held its collective breath. This engagement didn't happen the way everyone thinks it did. Sophia felt the blood drain from her face. Benjamin met her panicked gaze and smiled reassuringly. The truth is, I've been planning to propose to Sophia for weeks. I had the ring. I had the plan. I had the perfect romantic speech all prepared. But then, at her grandparents' anniversary party, she surprised me completely. Benjamin grinned at the memory. I was standing there trying to work up the courage to ask her to dance so I could propose properly when she grabbed my tie and kissed me right in front of everyone. And in that moment, I realized that Sophia doesn't need grand gestures or perfect plans. She just needs honesty and love, and someone brave enough to jump first. The crowd was smiling now, charmed by the story. So, yes, our engagement happened a little backwards. But everything else, every feeling, every promise, every dream we have for our future, that's all completely real. Create. Benjamin dropped to one knee right there on the stage, pulling out the ring box Sophia recognized from the cafe. The room erupted in gasps and excited murmurs. Sophia Grace Thompson, I love you more than I knew it was possible to love another person. Will you marry me for real this time? Sophia stared down at Benjamin, her heart so full she thought it might burst. Around them, 150 people held their breath, but all she could see was the man she loved kneeling before her with his heart in his eyes. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, of course. Yes. The room exploded in cheers as Benjamin slipped the ring onto her finger for the second time. But somehow this time felt like the first, like the moment that actually mattered. When Benjamin stood and kissed her deep and thorough and completely oblivious to their audience, Sophia felt like she was floating. This was real. This was happening. This was the rest of her life beginning. When they finally broke apart, the crowd was going wild. Her mother was sobbing happy tears. Her father was beaming with pride. Benjamin's parents looked delighted and slightly bewildered by the romantic chaos their son had just created. Ladies and gentlemen, Benjamin said into the microphone, his arm tight around Sophia's waist. My fiancé. Now is den wheat. The celebration that followed was a blur of congratulations, champagne toasts, and endless dancing. Sophia found herself swept from conversation to conversation, accepting hugs and well wishes and promises of wedding planning help from approximately 17 different relatives. I can't believe you pulled that off, Emily whispered during one of the slow songs as Benjamin spun Sophia around the dance floor. The re-proposal was genius. Everyone's talking about how romantic it was. It was his idea, Sophia said, still feeling slightly dazed by the evening's events. I thought he was about to confess everything and ruin our lives. Instead, he found a way to make the lie true. What we can to be good her saw. I like him even more now. Later, as the evening wound down and guests began to drift away with promises to call soon and offers to help with wedding planning, Sophia found herself alone with Benjamin on the club's rooftop terrace. The Chicago skyline glittered below them, and the autumn air was crisp with the promise of winter. So, Benjamin said, pulling her close against the evening chill, we did it. We survived our engagement party. We did more than survive it, Sophia said, leaning into his warmth. We turned it into something beautiful. Any regrets about making it official? Last chance to run away and change your name. Oz. Sophia looked up at him, taking in his slightly mussed hair. his bow tie hanging loose around his neck, his face soft with love and exhaustion and complete contentment. "My only regret," she said seriously, "is that it took us this long to figure it out." Benjamin's smile was radiant. "Well, we've got the rest of our lives to make up for lost time." "Starting when?" "Starting now," Benjamin said, and kissed her again under the Chicago stars. As they stood there wrapped in each other's arms, with the city spread out below them and their entire future stretching ahead, Sophia thought about the fake boyfriend she'd invented 3 months ago to escape family pressure. She thought about the panicked kiss that had started everything. She thought about flowcharts and timelines and all the careful plans that had brought them to this moment of beautiful, chaotic, perfect love. Sometimes the best things in life were the ones you never saw coming. Sometimes a lie told for all the wrong reasons could lead you to exactly the right place. Sometimes fake could become real in stateless ways that were more true than anything you'd ever planned. "I love you, Benjamin Harper," Sophia whispered against his lips. "I love you too, future Mrs. Harper," Benjamin murmured back. "Forever and always, past and..." And as the sounds of the celebration continued below them and the stars wheeled overhead, Sophia Thompson, soon to be Sophia Harper, knew with absolute certainty that this was the beginning of the greatest adventure of her life. The kiss that had changed everything had led them exactly where they were meant to be. Epilogue. 1 year later, Napa Valley, California, Meadowood Resort. The wedding was everything Sophia had never known she wanted. Intimate, elegant, surrounded by rolling vineyards and late summer sunshine. 50 of their closest family and friends gathered in a garden ceremony that felt both magical and perfectly authentically them. Sophia walked down the aisle to acoustic guitar music, wearing her grandmother's pearl necklace and a dress that made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. When she reached Benjamin at the altar, he was crying, actual tears streaming down his face as he took in the sight of her. "You're perfect," he whispered as her father placed her hand in his. "You're not so bad yourself," she whispered back, and he laughed through his tears. Their vows were honest and funny and completely from the heart. Benjamin promised to always remember her coffee order and to never again let fear keep him from telling her how he felt. Sophia promised to trust him with her whole heart and to never again try to organize their love into neat, manageable categories. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, their kiss was long and sweet and tasted like joy and champagne in the rest of their lives. The reception was held on the resort's terrace as the sun set over the valley. During dinner, Benjamin stood to make a toast. "A year ago," he said, his voice carrying easily across the intimate gathering, "my wife told our families that we were engaged. It was a complete lie. We weren't even dating at the time." The guests, who had all heard various versions of this story by now, laughed appreciatively. "But sometimes," Benjamin continued, his eyes finding Sophia's across the table, "the best things in life start as beautiful lies that become even more beautiful truths. Sophia, thank you for being brave enough to grab my tie and kiss me. Thank you for taking a chance on us. Thank you for loving me enough to make it real." He raised his glass, and 50 voices joined his in toasting the bride and groom. Later, as they swayed together on the dance floor to their first song as husband and wife, Sophia thought about everything that had brought them to this moment. The panic, the planning, the fake dates that became real feelings, the engagement party that had terrified and transformed them both. "Any regrets, Mrs. Harper?" Benjamin murmured in her ear. Sophia looked around at their friends and family, at the twinkling lights and the perfect California evening, at the man who had become her husband and her home, and her greatest adventure all at once. "Just one," she said. Benjamin pulled back to look at her, concern flickering in his eyes. "What's that?" Sophia smiled, standing on her tiptoes to whisper in his ear. "I wish I'd grabbed your tie and kissed you years sooner." Benjamin's laughter was warm and rich and full of promise. "Well, Mrs. Harper, we've got the rest of our lives to make up for lost time." "Starting now?" Sophia asked, echoing the words they'd said to each other that night on the rooftop. "Starting now," Benjamin agreed and spun her around under the California stars. As the music played and their loved ones celebrated around them, Sophia Thompson Harper knew that sometimes the most beautiful love stories were the ones that started with a lie and ended with a truth that was better than anything you could have planned. Sometimes fake was just the beginning of something magnificently perfectly real. The end,